the queen and her carriers. It is assumed that the pathogen has the same characteristics as creatures such as ants. There is a queen of the carriers of the disease, just like there is a queen ant, and this position has been passed down the line of the Furudeing family. This assumption is made based on the legends and ancient writings that have been passed down in the village. It is already confirmed that the carriers have a tendency to protect their queen. Additionally, the queen carrier can only survive within the boundary of the village. Probability of outbreak, as ordinary patients will become ill when they travel far away from the queen. It's assumed that the further and longer they are away from her, the higher the chance of symptoms occurring becomes. Also, mental state plays a strong factor as well, and it's estimated that those who are especially emotionally unstable or show strong yearning for their home are more likely to exhibit symptoms. It is believed that the Takano relaxation method is the most effective means of suppressing symptoms. But if the patient still shows no improvement, only returning them to their home and the queen will be effective. Concerning terminal patients. Terminal patients, as they suffer from an extreme persecution complex, are incapable of functioning within society. Cases of arson and murder have been confirmed. They may present severe problems for their units. Records show that terminal patients appear even in Hinamizawa, and they will not recover even if relocated nearer the queen. Therefore, the decision to dispose of the problem must be made as soon as possible. It's recommended that the infected be quarantined before they start behaving irregularly. We suggest tracking down those formerly from Hinamizawa and placing them under special medical observation. The collapse of the carrier community. For the aforementioned reasons, we predict that should the queen carrier die, infected villagers will exhibit terminal symptoms on a village-wide scale. Terminal symptoms will begin showing within 24 hours at the earliest and 48 hours at the latest. For that reason, the final decision must be made within 48 hours. Based on the size of the village, neither ordinary officers nor the military police may be able to control the chaos they may bring. We believe the best response is to treat them as an armed anti-national uprising and immediately suppress them with the military. January 1945. Colonel Koizumi of the Supreme Council for the Direction of War, from Hifumi Takano. The Takano relaxation method. June 23rd, 1983. Document E420 for the 58th Defense Commissioner and TACOM 733 Commander. TACOM 733 is hereby ordered to be on standby within 24 hours, armed for urban suppression. The company commander must also thoroughly study Emergency Manual 34. Select personnel carefully with the preservation of secrecy in mind. Additionally, test the effectiveness of the vaccine with the support of the National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Employ those with positive immunity. June 23rd, 1983. Document E711. 58th Director of the NIHS. Attention Equipment Testing Company Commander 733. The National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Infectious Pathogen Department, Suite 13. Official seal omitted. About the Hinamizawa syndrome. Again, Hinamizawa Hinamizawa? Hinamizawa? I prefer saying Hinamizawa. This is information regarding the Hinamizawa syndrome. The Hinamizawa syndrome is an infectious disease caused by a virus. There are no initial symptoms. Instead, their onset begins when the patient's emotional state becomes unstable or if the queen carrier dies. The main symptoms of the illness are hallucinations and emotional instability paired with an extreme persecution complex. Furthermore, patients are frequently unaware of their own mental abnormalities, making identification outside examination nearly impossible. The only way to do so is by observing symptoms indicative of terminal abnormal behavior. In many cases, patients engage in antisocial behavior, which is the largest issue created by the syndrome. This behavior is caused by hormonal factors, as this disease mainly affects the mind, as opposed to the body. In the end, patients will experience extreme irritation in their lymph nodes, and they will claw at their throats or wrists. This is the only symptom that is recognized by the patient. Important points regarding the sterilization operation. This is an advisory notice for virus control. The pathogen is an airborne infectious virus, therefore no effective preventative method exists. An inoculation is required. After the mission is completed, all staff members must take a medical exam, and those with positive test results must come forward. Be cautious when interacting with the carriers, villagers. Even after inoculation, any contact with their bodily fluids will cause infection. Do not come into direct contact with them. If assumed infected, individuals must use the testing syringe and test themselves for the disease. If you feel an extreme irritation in your lymph nodes, it's likely you have terminal symptoms. In that case, you must get tested immediately. If test results come out positive, inject the treatment medication C-120, which is probably pure poison. If the irritation persists after 10 minutes, use a second injection. If there is still no change in symptoms, seek treatment at HQ. Like I said, I'm pretty sure oxytocin's the cure to this. Do not use C120 if your test results are not positive. If used on a healthy body, symptoms of a high fever, rashes, dilated pupils, and hallucination will be observable within 10 minutes. Guys, remember Sumi Horoboshi? When Rika had that syringe and Rena was inside that abandoned car at the junkyard? If this occurs, one must seek treatment at HQ. Government officials explained the entire situation in a luxurious meeting room adorned with marble table and crystal ashtrays. The chief cabinet secretary was in a panic. He'd never heard about any of this before. Feelings of panic were only natural. One girl's death was going to drive 2,000 villagers into a frenzy. Hearing that a disease like that exists was surprising enough. But on top of that, it was secretly researched for military use. And now there was a horrific situation caused by the director of the local research institute engaging in embezzlement. I've never heard of such a dangerous disease. There's no cure for it? No. According to the National Research Center, they have recently found a method of treatment for the carriers of the disease, but they're still not capable of administering that treatment to the whole village. The entire populace is going to develop terminal symptoms within the next 24 to 48 hours. It's going to be a disaster. The danger of this Hinamizawa syndrome was explained over and over again to the chief secretary. He didn't have anything more to say, but that didn't mean that he could blindly accept it either. He simply couldn't believe that the only way to resolve the situation was to kill all 2,000 infected villagers. I understand the urgency, but I can't give approval to kill an entire village. Why was this disease being studied in secret anyway? Isn't this the responsibility of those who are funding the research? Such a dangerous disease can't possibly be of any benefit to this country. It's like the year 1983. For crying out loud. According to these documents, they intentionally held off on exterminating the disease so they'd have more time to study it. On top of that, this chaos was all caused by a single researcher. This is an act of terrorism. It's the fault of those old men in Tokyo. They better take responsibility for this. Get rid of the people who are still haunted by the ghosts of the war. This is a good opportunity to rid Tokyo of its festering pus. We will discuss the issue of responsibility in due time, but we must make a prompt decision about this. A man standing by the window slowly turned around and opened his mouth. Prime Minister, please give us your decision. What happens if I don't approve this final resolution? Well, almost 100% of the population of the village will develop terminal symptoms within 36 hours. They will be overcome by persecution complexes, and they will begin behaving violently. Suicide, murder, arson, robbery, and rape are some of the things we predict will happen. There will be no peace within the village. It probably won't stay within those boundaries either, but spread throughout the area. As a result, the whole world will discover this disaster. Sooner or later, they will find out about this mysterious disease. This will be a great advantage for the opposition during the next election. Tokyo will also voice their criticisms of the Prime Minister. You need their approval in order to make your political plans come to fruition. More than anything, the government might reveal that this secret research was conducted for military purposes. If this happens, this country will have a crisis of faith in their leadership. What if I approve the final resolution? Well, we will be disguising this as a natural disaster, so the opposition may still attack us for our blunder. However, they will not discover the existence of this mysterious disease. If by chance the world were to discover a military research of this disease, our nation would completely lose its initiative in the Asian region. Support from those nations is a necessity for us. If we lose their trust, the opposition will definitely come into power after the next election. Japan will be finished. According to our simulations, the balance of power will shift drastically if the second and third parties form a coalition government. The whole world will hold us responsible. The United Nations will accuse us of developing WMDs. Neighboring countries and governments will lead smear campaigns against us, drawing a hard line of anti-Japan diplomatic policies with high approval ratings. In every way possible, the government of this country will be burned to the ground. So we'll lose the trust of all of our allies, huh? Shit. So this isn't just the problem of the several 100,000 people. Okay. There's 2,000 people in Hinamizawa. But how many people are in the surrounding area of Hinamizawa? But it's way too difficult to cover up 2,000 casualties. The most important thing is to prevent the public from knowing that this country was secretly researching biological weapons. I guess we'll be wiping their ass of the ghost of the war. Are you sure this operation can be performed secretly? If this mission goes public, this will become a greater scandal than the research itself. Yes, it will be kept secret. There are special units working on this case. They are trained specifically for situations like this. You have nothing to worry about. I've never heard of any mission like this. But it's basically mass murder via gas, correct? I had no idea there were units specifically trained for that. In order to know how to protect themselves from a gas attack, they must know what gas warfare is about. In order to know how to fight against an enemy using gas attack, they must also know how to kill with it. The Equipment Research Unit is prepared for any kind of attack. He let out a small sigh. He couldn't see the line between ethical and unethical. Is there a line? Let me know, guys, in the comments. Is there a line between those things? Or are those just the same word? Can any research be justified by the excuse of preparing against hostilities? But that's also what preparation was all about. Some evils must be accepted as necessary. The Erie Institute was one such evil. So, we have to make a secret decision in order to keep this research undisclosed. Approving this is going to make us guilty. Are you sure that information will not leak from the members of this unit? That will not happen. The members were carefully selected from a group of extremely loyal men. We never performed an operation such as this, but they are highly experienced and they will not leak any information whatsoever. They're an assassination unit, huh? Prime Minister, please give us the approval to administer Emergency Manual 34. Director General of Defense, Are you sure this operation will succeed? Are you sure we can stop this from going public? No. Can you keep casualties to a minimum? Yes, sir. The preliminary orders have been sent out and preparations are complete. We will execute the mission as soon as we get your approval. I can't give the approval to slaughter 2,000 innocent people. However, as Prime Minister, I have an obligation to minimize the number of casualties. Prime Minister, I understand your dilemma. Director General, please make a concerted effort to minimize the number of victims. If these 2,000 people can't be treated, please do what's best to prevent additional victims. Yes, sir. Thank you for your approval. We'll return with positive results. That's if you can call 2,000 casualties a positive result. Okunu-kun, please set up a meeting with Tokyo as soon as possible. I have to hear an explanation directly from them. Understood. By the way, did they arrest that Erie, the institute director? No, he committed suicide by taking poison. He was in such a rage that his research was being shut down that he felt as if his life itself was being denied. So no one will ever really know what made him commit such a horrific crime. The execution of Emergency Manual 34 is approved. June 23, 1983. Prime Minister, Director General of the Defense Agency. For logistical reasons. You may not bring any large items with you. You cannot carry any luggage. I repeat, you cannot carry any luggage. You may carry only valuable items such as bank books and cash. Please, do not use your own vehicle to evacuate. It will cause confusion. It was the middle of the night, and yet countless villagers were out and about. Some of them were locking their doors, some of them watering their plants, and some of them were piling up food in their dogs' dinner bowls. Small children were crying in fear. Members of the town council were yelling angrily while counting up the villagers. Reportedly, the village had been cut off from the rest of the world after volcanic gas gushed out of the mountains. The number of policemen and military units in the village, added to the strong smell of sulfur in the air, dispelled any doubts the villagers might have had. The more religious among the elderly were convinced that this was the curse of Rika Furudeing, who had passed away the day before. They were certain that Oyashiro-sama was enraged, and that the door to hell had been opened. Soldiers wearing gas masks guided the villagers to the evacuation center. Why? Do you all have guns? These are to protect your homes after the evacuation. We're expecting looters. No one in Hinamizawa would do something like that. This is the first platoon. The evacuation is on schedule. Roger that. We'll send our platoon over. Excuse me, I need to bring along my grandfather's mortuary tablet. You may take that with you. Please, hurry up. Make sure everyone in the village is here. Please, come forward if you are unable to walk. A soldier will come and help you. Ah, Oyashiro-sama is angry because Rika-chan was murdered. Oyashiro-sama, please forgive our sins. Remember our emergency drills. Group leaders have to contact a town council member when everyone in the group has shown up. Miasma is coming out of the swamp. Oyashiro-sama must be furious. There are too many of us here. We'll never make it out alive. Let me die in this village. Don't worry. The helicopters and buses are on their way to transport everyone to safety. You're all going to make it out okay. Everyone gather at the forestry service. No, not the people from District 4. You're supposed to go to the community center behind the post office. It's exactly the same as in the emergency drills. Please calm down and head to your evacuation center. Please move as a group. Every person matters. Everyone needs to stick together. You will get home safely. The villagers couldn't see the expressions under the soldiers' gas masks. They wondered what kind of expressions they were hiding under there. The soldiers were, of course, lying to the villagers, knowing that they would never return to their homes again. One such trooper cried under his mask, but the villagers never saw his tears. Please go back. You can't take your own vehicle to evacuate. The road ahead is cut off by a gas stream, and it's dangerous. Can't you smell the sulfur? Some people try to leave in their cars, so as to take large items with them. However, the quarantine unit has sealed off all the roads leading outside. The gas masks of the troopers and the smell of the sulfur persuaded them to return and obey their instructions. Some of them tried to contact Okonomiya, but their phone lines would not connect. The lines were busy, no matter how much they tried. They simply assumed the phone lines were overwhelmed because of the disaster. Some of the villagers had access to radios. They tried to figure out what the situation was like outside, but all they could hear over the radio was loud static. It was the same with the television. They couldn't contact anyone outside of the village, so they really were totally isolated, and so they had nothing to rely on but the instructions of the police and the military. They were all like moths heading toward a light, never doubting that they would be safe there. One old war veteran listened to the noise from the radio and muttered, "This is exactly how it sounded when the Americans jammed the radio waves during the war." As it turned out, he was absolutely correct. However, he turned off the radio when his son urged him to evacuate. The villagers had all gathered at their evacuation points, and everyone lived happily ever after. Some of them were at the school, and some of them were at the community center. They were to stay in the building until the evacuation vehicles arrived. The soldiers told them to stay inside so they could keep track of the number of evacuees. "Please close all the windows to prevent the gas from entering. We'll be sealing all the windows to be on the safe side. Your cooperation would be appreciated." All right, let's help them out. People started to seal up all the windows and vents with the duct tape that was handed to them. They completely sealed every opening, even as they heard the disquieting conversation of the soldiers. It was long past 3 a.m., but everyone was wide awake with fear. They were having an extremely long night. Coincidentally, the end to their night had almost arrived. "This is all Oyoshiro-sama's curse. Rika-chama, Rika-chama, Oyoshiro-sama, Oyoshiro-sama." Oyoshiro-sama demoned away those kids at the Furudeing shrine in his fury. The Furudeing shrine was swallowed by the whole world of the demons that day. The demons chewed up her guts while she was still alive. They all started saying that the gas disaster was caused by the curse of Oyoshiro-sama and Rika's death and the mysterious disappearance of her friends and the 2 detectives who were also the result of the curse. People started talking about being demoned away. They had no idea that Keiichi and his friends' short battle sealed their fate for that night. The more religious villagers had become convinced that the children and the detectives went missing because they volunteered to become a sacrifice to calm Oyoshiro-sama's anger after Rika's death. They didn't know the truth. They couldn't know. Not one realized that Keiichi and his friends' efforts had all been in vain. Indeed, in Hinamizawa, everything that happens is the will of Oyoshiro-sama. But why did it have to be that way? Before the series of mysterious deaths occurred, no one really used the term the curse of Oyoshiro-sama that frequently. In other words, who set them up? People in this village were set up to believe that the curse of Oyoshiro-sama happens every year. They really are just too superstitious. Major, we finished gathering the villagers together. The last family finally reached their assembly point. We got everyone. Good. This is finally it. The curse of Oyoshiro-sama will become a reality tonight. For enacting Watanagashi on Rika Furude, Oyoshiro-sama is punishing this village. The curses of the last 5 years are culminating in the biggest curse of them all. This is not just a mysterious chain of murders. This is divine punishment from an enraged God. Let's begin. This is the company commander. The men are requesting 1 minute of silence. Can you let them have that, Major? Do as you like. Takano gave him a disparaging laugh. The company commander crossed his heart and began to speak. Dear Heavenly Father, please guide these innocent people. Their sacrifice will save the lives of many others to come. Please forgive us for committing this sin. Please forgive us for being here today. The company commander isn't Christian. In fact, he doesn't follow any religion. However, he prayed because he felt the need to ask someone for forgiveness. He wasn't even sure if he was saying it correctly, but he still prayed to God. He asked forgiveness for committing his sin and continued to pray. Takano was speaking in a soft voice. She was talking to herself. For ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. One man heard her murmurs. That's from the Gospel of Matthew. Is it? My grandfather always said that to me. He was telling me to work hard every day, because you'll never know when you will be rewarded. Is this a reward for you? Yes, although you might not understand it. Excuse my rudeness, but I believe that the descent of God is a merciful thing. I think what you're saying is inappropriate for a time like this. He was trying to tell her that using that verse of the Bible was inappropriate for the occasion. However, Takano simply laughed, as though she had heard something very funny. I'm sorry, but you have no right to judge. Tonight is the night where I become a god. The moment of silence has ended. And with the end of the silence, execute the operation now. The order was given in a hollow and reluctant a manner, as an order can possibly be. People were packed into the classroom. They were afraid. The troopers closed the door of the classroom. The people inside had no idea why they were doing that. However, they didn't suspect anything at all. One old man walked up to the door to open it, because with it closed, it was far too hot inside the room. But he collapsed all of a sudden. His wife tried to walk over to help him up, but she also collapsed all of a sudden. Then, other people also started collapsing inside of the room. It really was a very odd sight. What would make for a good example? It would be pretty amusing if they were all dominoes. However, they're human beings. People sitting by the window watched this strange event happening before their eyes, as they opened those eyes wider to try and understand what was going on. The door creaked open slightly, and someone on the other side threw 3 spray canisters into the room. More people started to collapse, even those at the window. This wasn't something that was happening only in one room. It was happening in all the other rooms too. It was happening in all the evacuation centers. People's dreams, their hopes, and their futures were taken away so quickly and easily. There was a commotion in the reception room by the principal's office. Someone had figured out what was going on, broke the seal off the window, and escaped outside. Other people tried to remove the seal on their windows too, but they collapsed in a matter of seconds. Someone escaped from the reception room. 4 people are loose. You have permission to fire. Shoot, shoot, shoot! The soldiers shot the people who tried to escape in the back. The sound of the gunshots echoed in the silence. It was a noise filled with cruelty. They helplessly fell down to the ground. Their deaths were so pitiful compared to the silent deaths of those before them. The residential police officer was one of the escapees. He tried to shoot back at them with his own gun. His shots could be heard throughout the building. The soldiers ducked into the shadows upon hearing the noise. The officer seized his chance and ran towards the gate, but that was just a waste of time. Not only is the range of the automatic weapons they were using longer than the length of the schoolyard, but as trained professionals, it would be nothing for them to shoot him from that distance. The villagers had no choice, and no chance. Either they'd die from the gas without realizing it, what was happening, or they'd find out about the mission and be killed. What happened? Did they fight back? Respond! We've shot all the fugitives. One of the residential policemen shot back. Collect those bodies. Do not put them with the other corpses. The soldiers walked over to the 4 fallen bodies. They needed to make sure they were all dead, not just injured. This is the first platoon. The Forestry Service building has been sterilized. 4 escaped. We took them down. This is the second platoon. Sterilization complete. No one escaped. This is the third platoon. More than 10 escaped. We're conducting a sweep. It will be over soon. This is the fourth platoon. Sterilization complete. No one escaped. This is the third platoon. We've taken out all 13 fugitives. Sterilization is now complete. Roger. Start counting the bodies. Make sure the total matches the original number taken earlier tonight. Takano was laughing to herself inside of the van.